Hello, my name is Véronique Dubos. I'm a PhD student at INRS and I'm studying the habitat characteristics of Arctic char, cold water species of fish. With this poster, I will present the advantages of winter fieldwork and community-based monitoring in Nunavik, the Inuit territory located in the northern part of Quebec. In this context, as there are no road access, the transportation to fieldwork sites is often made by plane or helicopter and is really expensive. It is an Arctic climate, so there are winter conditions at least 8 months a year, and it's in remote location, so fieldworks implies logistic and safety considerations. But there are also some good points. The territory is inhabited and used all year long by Inuit people, and the access is actually easier during winter than in summer because of the frozen lakes and rivers and smoother trail condition in the land. Although I did some sampling myself with Inuit guides, I mainly organized my fieldwork so that Inuit hunters could do some measurements by themselves while they were going on the land to fish. The protocol was made to respect their agenda and to provide them with material adapted for easy transportation by skidoo sled and material adapted for sampling in a fishing hole. The idea was to minimize the negative impact of the measurements on their traditional activities. All the instruments were prepared to be easily used, and even notebooks were pre-prepared to facilitate note-taking, which was not a usual activity for hunters. The method was experimental to assess its feasibility, and it proved to be operational and efficient. But it required a lot of communication at first because hunters were unsure of what to do, and it took time for them to gain confidence. This method gave opportunity to have a broad area covered for the measurements, as hunters use broad territory to catch Arctic char. And we could get vertical profiles of water characteristics like temperature, oxygen, and conductivity in several lakes. Even if there are some advantages of doing fieldwork in winter, the cold has to be managed and it can be a challenge for personal comfort and safety. But this challenge can be managed by working with experienced hunters who know how to deal with cold, with strong winds, and how to stay safe. They can help also for the appropriate dressing. Cold is definitely also a challenge for the instruments. Batteries become low really fast, plastic breaks, the welding breaks, and the flexible material is not flexible anymore. So the instruments challenge can be managed with hand warmers, actually a lot of hand warmers and insulation, and it seems anecdotal, but it's a really useful hint. In conclusion, despite the cold weather that can be a challenge, fieldwork during winter season allowed for easier access to the territory, and working with Inuit hunters proved to be operational and useful. Respecting their traditional fishing activities was a really good approach and it avoided pressure dam, and we could get data on several lakes, covering a broad area and habitat diversity. Working with hunters allowed also to get insight on the environmental modification of specificities. As a result of this partnership, hunters have learned to do some sampling, and they were trained on more complex instruments that are now planned to be used for other projects in the communities. I would like to thank my guides who continued the measurements. It was a learning process for them and for me. And I hope this poster will encourage some of you to try winter fieldwork whenever it can be relevant.